YouTubers release books all the time. Some are actually pretty good and fun for fans. Others are, something else. Sometimes YouTubers don't just release books about them, but as passion projects that they've put their whole heart and soul into. And Sam Fennah's The August View Amygdala falls right in between. Some fans have been more than supportive. Others find this book to be a 3 out of 10, with a wee sprinkle of snuff fettuccinis, if you know what I mean. That made this book hard for some fans to get through. Now, before we actually begin, hold on, stop. I need to make some things very clear. Lock in with me. You locked? All right, let's go. I'm reviewing this book, not Sam as a person or a content creator. I don't know them personally, and I don't have the right to judge them or their character. And I don't want to send any bullying or negativity their way. This is not a call out video. This is not a rah. This is a book review. Okay? Ding. I'm also not telling you how to feel. Everyone is different and experiences things differently. If you love this book, I'm so glad that it brought you some excitement and you got to support a creator that you love. If you hate this book, totally valid. It's not for everyone, and it covers some really interesting themes that can make some uncomfortable, and to some even seem handled very poorly. In this video, I want to describe the book to you, and it's up to you guys on how you feel about it. I would love to hear your guys' opinions in the comments, because some of these things I don't have an opinion on because it doesn't apply to me. And I want to know if you guys think it's worth the fuss everyone is making it out to be. Enough yapping. I can see those fingers. I can see you scrolling to right here because you're tired of me yapping. Here's my usual content warning, my friends. Please remember that Sam Fennah's work is intended for adults. It's aimed and made for adults, and it contains these things. Me personally, I will not go into any crazy disturbing detail on my channel. That's just not what I do, but please take this warning seriously and take care of yourself. So let's start off with talking about Sam Fennah's YouTube channel, so we know the content creator behind this book. A little small note, just so everything's clear. Sam Fennah also states that obviously he does not support any of the things I gave a content warning for. Any negativity I throw is just about the book. Okay? Good? Good. All right. Sam Fennah. Sam Fennah's YouTube channel was made in 2012. His first video being uploaded, it's a little stop motion animation. Really cute. Then he began to post his 3D animations. I actually remember seeing some of his most popular on YouTube back in the day. Seeing them for the first time made me feel like I was in the Willy Wonka tunnel. To me, he seems extremely talented at 3D animation. His style is some of the most unique I've ever seen. To my untrained eye, his animation from 7 years ago still holds up pretty well today. Since the beginning of when he started to share his characters and stories, it's very obvious that Fennah had a story that he really wanted to tell and was super passionate about, and he absolutely has the creative mind to do just that. His first series that he put a lot of effort into was something called Satellite City. He focused on that for a few years before moving on to his book, The August View. The August View is unrelated to Satellite City, but I believe involves the same characters. But that's all the information you need. It's time to hop into the book. I got the audiobook for my research for this video. The music and the voice reading and the mixing was, 10 out of 10. Fennah narrated this himself, and I think he does a wonderful job. So without further ado, here's my summary and review of Amygdala. And obviously, a little bit of spoiler warning ahead. Get ready to lock in, everyone, because not only did this book have 1,000 pages, the audiobook is 30 hours long. I'm going to do my best to summarize this quickly and efficiently, so bear with me, stick with me. The story of Amygdala takes place in a fictional universe, very different from our own, with alien-like creatures called the Kivawak, who are pretty civilized human-like society. I'm going to insert a few pictures here because I have no idea how to describe these. These animals also have the ability to kind of shapeshift at will. It's kind of inconsistent, but sometimes they can adapt with gills or fins, or even create weapons out of body parts. But these creatures aren't the only unique thing to this world. Almost everything is unique. They have a different universe, different sky, different day and night cycle. They have a different way of death. They also have a different way of gravity. This book has like over 20 prominent characters that are important, and their perspectives constantly switch throughout all of the book. So we're going to be focusing on one main character in particular, and that is Lucy Lacemaker. Lucy is a young, optimistic, willing to learn character. She has survived this long in this cruel world due to the kindness of others around her, and also because of her amazing psychology skills. she's able to manipulate people to her own benefit. We start off our story with Lucy by her spying in on a conversation between two characters. Goldoon, who I actually don't know what he looks like. I could never find a picture, so this is Goldoon, okay? And Greta, a very mysterious woman who wants to make some kind of deal with Goldoon. A deal that he'll distribute some kind of mystery substance to the people of the town. And in this conversation, they're sitting upon furniture of headless creatures like themselves. So, other Kiviwaks. And from that, we are introduced to something called rotulation, I believe that's how you pronounce that. Or rotting. Boys, lock in, here we go. While explaining the story, I'm going to expand upon some of the key points that are unique to this book, like rotulation, so here we go. In this world, violence has little to no repercussions. Though this alien species can heal very quickly from any kind of bodily wounds and is only truly killed when the brain is destroyed, that means that limbs being removed or stabs to the heart won't really affect them that much. But this is when rotulation or rotting comes into play. In this universe, it's very common to remove the head from a Kiviwakian and use them as furniture, display pieces, and sometimes other perverted things, which we'll get into, unfortunately. Yeah! Because only removing the head from a Kiviwak will leave their body limp, but they themselves will not be truly deceased. And the head can be reconnected, and that Kiviwak will come back to life pretty much. They do rotting and rotulation as some form of shame and humiliation, if you get what I'm saying. I bring this up because it's mentioned pretty much throughout the whole story, and sometimes it's a key component within some of the story elements. When rotting happens, the eyes roll back and the tongue sticks out. To me, it sounds like that one anime face, you know what I'm talking about? It's also told that when rotulation happens, some sort of fluid leaks from the intimate areas of these creatures, which brings me to my next point of reproducing. Yay! And usually when the Kiviwaks are in this rotulation state, they are sometimes taken advantage of, which leads to them being pregnant, and then the little baby creatures will bust out of them alien style and then devour their mother. Hey, welcome to IHOP. How many? Hi, just one. Alrighty, would you like a Booth or Steve? I'm sorry? Booth or Steve? Lucy follows Goldoon in secret as he goes to various places to distribute this mysterious substance. This includes the introductions of chop shops and dollhouses. The chop shop has headless bodies of fowlers or children hanging in the window as display, the owner having just their heads around his belt. Chop shops are kind of like restaurants or butchers, and as I mentioned, children when they're born, they eat their mother, and from there it's survival of the fittest. Siblings attack each other, or like most of the time, they're caught by chop shop employees and used as food. So yes, cannibalism. Goldoon partakes in some cannibal soup and then trades this mysterious substance to the shop owner, before next moving on to a dollhouse. Here we go again. The best way to describe a dollhouse is like a brothel. The dollies, as they're called, sit in suggestive poses, with their faces kind of mimicking rotting, so eyes rolled back, tongue sticking out, the whole shebang. It looks like I have lamb chops. No. If these dollies are purchased, they must do what the buyer says, usually resulting in having their heads removed and put into a rotulation state, so that the buyer can have their fun. And this is what Goldoon does. In the dollhouse, however, Lucy finally confronts Goldoon. In this conflict, Lucy smashes all the bottles of the mysterious substance and accidentally kills Goldoon by setting him alight with one of the bottles. The dollhouse catches on fire and Lucy nearly escapes while also saving the beheaded dolly from before. As she's fleeing the scene, she ends up getting into a little bit of trouble with a character named Ludwig. Ludwig kind of takes Lucy hostage as they go to a chop shop. However, Ludwig also being a fowler, or a child like Lucy, he ends up putting them both in a dangerous situation, where Lucy manipulates her way out of it and ends up saving Ludwig by once again using the bottles to catch the chop shop owner on fire. In doing this, she gains a little bit of trust from Ludwig, as well as keeping his secret about the true events that happen in the chop shop. She's able to manipulate him into getting her a job at the company Ludwig works for. Ludwig, and now Lucy, works for like a news publisher, so they're kind of like journalists and writers. She's a right newsy, she is. However, little did Lucy know that by joining this publishing company, she brought herself into a very high-stakes political world. Because believe it or not, This book is actually trying to tell a political story, and is very, very heavily involved in its own kind of politics. Honestly, I think the politics take up pretty much 80% of the book, so it's time to break down the politics. Buckle in, everyone, here we go. There are 3 Kiviwag creatures that are the head of this government. For simplicity's sake, we're only going to be focusing on one, Locket. Locket makes all the rules and regulations for the world that they live in. Despite her immense power, they still have court systems and a democracy, where political issues are discussed, and Locket is amongst the court. Our other main character of interest is Methusa. Not quite as powerful politically as Locket, but still she has quite a bit of power. The political conflict is as followed. Locket is the one who has all these crazy rules in place. She's the one who agrees with eliminating and consuming the weak little children. She also believes and supports in the rotulation of other Kiviwakians. She also believes in no currency. This is stated earlier in the book, but in this universe they did try to have a currency once. However, citizens didn't like it, and now they rely on trades of goods and services. For example, if you go to one of these chop shops mentioned before, in order to get that food instead of paying money, you would have to pay something of equal or greater value. That could be trading some jewelry for a bit of meat. That is Locket, and what she promotes. Now on to Methusa. She opposes the violence and brutality in their society. She wants to rebuild it completely based off love and support. My Little Pony friendship is magic style. Methusa is trying to take a sneaky stance against Locket to try and promote and push her ideals. These crazy ideals of peace, love, and healthcare. Like, yes, queen, please give me some. She is writing her manifesto on what she believes and wants to promote, and she's hoping to actually overthrow Locket and become the new voice of law. But of course, Locket is opposed to this. She believes that people with disabilities or impairments, and I'm quoting here, people with disabilities infect the gene pool. Locket believes that providing security and safety for the youth and also giving aid to those with disabilities or impairments will lead to stagnant progress. In other words, being kind stops the progression of society. Therefore, it's inferior? This is the big bad political dilemma throughout the whole entire book. Now let's jump back in that timeline before we give any opinions. At this time, Lucy's making some new friends at her company. She becomes very close with Ludwig, the one who got her in this predicament in the first place. Ludwig has continued to show Lucy endless kindness throughout all the ups and downs of her working there. Lucy and her new friends decide to hit the town and sell some papers. They trade a few pieces of paper for a child's body with the blood not pumping to eat, I assume? But then right after that, they stop at a candy shop. Why are we eating children if there's candy available? Would you like le tasty fruit by the foot? Or Junior? When selling these papers in the streets, they come across a character from the very beginning of the book. It's Greta, who conducted the trade with Goldoon to distribute the bottles. Regardless, Greta is after Lucy, because Greta knows the truth behind why the dollhouse burnt down, and that it was Lucy's fault. And Greta wants more information. Greta joins the inking company that Lucy works for one of 2 reasons. However, before we find out what those reasons are, Lucy falls into a deep sleep, kind of like a hibernation, because she is maturing. It's kind of nasty to say. While she sleeps, Lucy's body is changing from child to woman, and during that time, she missed a lot of what's been going on. Lucy's being caught up by a close friend and coworker, and we learn that Greta has convinced their boss, Wiley, to use his inking business as a cover-up for making and distributing Maya. Maya is the mysterious substance in the bottles throughout this whole story. Greta is using her information about the fire to blackmail Lucy into forging documents to hide the fact that they're using this inking house for production of Maya. Despite Lucy's protest and her not wanting to have anything to do with this, she's now trapped in this predicament. At the same time all of this has been going on, there's been a side story happening. And what I'm going to describe as like investigators or law enforcement that have been investigating the fire of the dollhouse and Maya. And these law enforcers are hot on Lucy's tail. And eventually, find her through investigations about Maya and the dollhouse. The law enforcers catch her in the streets, and Lucy spills the truth about the fire and her company's involvement with Maya. Lucy also agrees to work with the law enforcement to expose her company's involvement of the production of Maya. You following? Alright. She also gets a little bit of a crush on Celia, one of the law enforcers, and it's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. We also learn what Maya is. And it's medicine, bro. It's healing medicine. Anyways, all of the characters that we have been following up to this point are about to collectively get together at some kind of gala. Lucy, along with a few others that have been involved with Maya and Methuselah, as well as the law enforcement and those involved with Locket, are going to all be finally meeting up. And at this gala, Methuselah is going to reveal her manifesto and debate for her way of law. On the way to the gala, it's also made very clear that for some reason I'll explain later, Lucy is very heavily siding with Locket, and her friend Ludwig is siding very heavily with Methuselah. At this gala, when it's all happening, it's all coming together, Lucy's employer of the Ink House notices that she's been working with law enforcement, so he decides to get rid of her, but Lucy outsmarts him and ends up cutting his life short. After realizing there has been a murder, Lucy's friends and everyone on Methuselah's side freaks out a little bit and decides it's best to take Lucy and run. Back at the gala, Locket and Methuselah are beginning their big debate. It's time to find out who wins this political battle. Is it peace and love? Or we eat little babies? And in chapter 22, we also finally hear the word amygdala. It's all coming full circle, baby. Basically, there are three big parts to this debate. 1, if murder should be allowed. 2, if healthcare should be provided. And 3, the involvement of the government. After the debate concludes, Lucy and those who help Methuselah are on the run, and they enter a little safe haven where children and everyone in between are welcome. And for some reason, this deeply upsets Lucy. One of the hosts offers Lucy a free drink, and she throws a bit of a tantrum, which is crazy because, girl, that's a free drink. Regardless, those who work with Methuselah want to remove Lucy from the equation because she's a huge liability. However, before that could happen, Lucy makes a break for it, only to be confronted by Ludwig, who has been by her side since the beginning. This is where Lucy makes her stance very clear that she sides with Locket. After fighting with Ludwig and running away, she bumps into the one who is supposed to dispose of her. However, for some reason, this character decides to spare her. Guys, we're finally wrapping up the story. Stick with me, stick with me. In the end, Methuselah was betrayed by one of those who is supposedly on her side. We didn't mention this before, but Methuselah was protecting and caring for all these children. Children with disabilities or impairments. Locket found them after Methuselah's downfall and decided they should be studied before being set free upon the world. Locket decides that she's going to let Methuselah go. However, Locket knows her true fate. As Methuselah is trying to escape, those in the political world unleash their wrath upon her. She is stripped, put on display, defiled, and disgraced, and all these horrible things before she loses her life. Locket then returns to release all the children Methuselah has been raising out upon the world. Before setting them loose, she introduced them to the idea of cannibalism, and then they proceed to kill each other until there's only a few left, and those few run off into the distance. So she basically undoes all the hard work Methuselah was trying to do in raising them right. While the surviving members of Methuselah's little gang are on the run, we now wrap up Lucy's story. Lucy receives a very bountiful compensation for her help in bringing down Methuselah, one of them being an accommodation, like a little bit of property. So Lucy makes her way to her new home. While there, she meets with Celia, one of the law enforcers previously mentioned. They have a little bit of a chit-chat before Lucy talks about her future business ventures. Lucy gets away pretty much scot-free, with only a little bit of trouble brewing in the background. And that's where this book ends. Congratulations, everyone. We made it through. There's a lot more to this story than my little simple summary. Now, before we get into the critiques, I want to talk about a few positive things. Starting off strong with the audiobook. The mixing on the audiobook was so well done. I really enjoyed it. Everything sounds so crisp and clean. There was even some musical composition. All the music was original, which is so awesome. They even had some certain background noises for certain characters. It even had some songs with full-on voice acting. And it all sounded great. It helped me really stay focused and locked in while trying to get through this massive story. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the world that Fennah created. It's so unique. It's so unique and really interesting. And though it's strange and sometimes kind of grody, I enjoyed it because of its uniqueness. Along with uniqueness, the character designs are awesome. However, through listening to the audiobooks, I didn't get any of these little depictions. This is not at all what I thought these people look like. These characters are so unique, they really benefit from a little bit of visual aid. And I found myself particularly enjoying chapter like 13 to 19. I believe that Ludwig is the best character. I stand with Ludwig. But alright, it's time to move on to the critiques. Now, I don't want this to just be me complaining for, another 20 minutes. So I'm actually going to be going off a few reviews from others online. I want to start off by saying that you are allowed to write and depict dark and disturbing topics. However, it has to be done right. Because if you don't handle these dark topics with the amount of respect that they need, it can come across very poorly. But I will say, I don't think this was Fennah's intention. It had a lot of thought put into it and a lot of detail in the story, characters, and settings. This book is very different from the other rage bait, splatterpunk kind of genres sometimes I cover. Anyways, let's move into the critiques from fans. As a final note, I need to express that there were many elements in this book that were a little too explicit in nature than was necessary, or even acceptable in some cases. I was able to understand that a lot of it was just the nature of the world. However, I was frequently made a little too uncomfortable by the descriptions of the characters. The females in particular, whose thighs, soft bellies, and breasts were mentioned far too frequently, particularly when compared similarly I cannot say this word, similar. I've been sitting here for 5 minutes trying to pronounce these two words, and I can't do it. My dyslexia wins today, folks. Lock it, I'm infesting your gene pool. Particularly when compared similarly to the male's descriptions, particularly when considering that those features seemed almost entirely irrelevant to these animals' actual methods of reproduction. And I do agree with this comment, it brings up a very good point. The female characters were described in excessive detail compared to their male counterparts. And I can understand how this would make some women or even others uncomfortable when reading. This type of language used to describe feminine bodies can be a little off-putting to some. I don't believe the world itself that Sam Fennah has written is misogynistic. There doesn't seem to be any kind of gender imbalance in the world itself, but when writing and describing these characters, it is a little noticeable. Moving on to another comment. Complaint 1. The exposition and pacing. The first few hundred pages were a drag. Understand that this book is an incredibly high concept and a lot needs to be explained to be understood, but I feel like there could have been a better way to go about it than info dumping for a chapter or two. It made the first few hundred pages not the most enjoyable to read. I recall a time when the author explained the concept of gravomass, which is the weird gravity I mentioned before, since it applied at that moment in the story, and literally had to break the fourth wall to do so. It's very jarring as a reader to suddenly have the author speak indirectly at the reader like that. The only things that bugged me were the constant formidable thighs, soft stomach, proud bust, sexualization of female characters, and lesbian fetishizing. I will admit that the first few chapters of this book were really hard to get through. Luckily, I had the audiobook that kept me entertained and locked in, but with a world like this and characters that need a lot of description and explanation, there were some descriptions that filled up a whole page or took a minute just to explain what these people even look like. And even after reading the whole thing and even going back to some of it for this video, I'm still struggling to understand some things or even remember certain characters and their names. And again, this comment brings up the previous notion of the female characters. Now moving on to our last comment. There's something deeply wrong about naming your ginger cat demon thing Yeshua, aka Jesus. Yeshua is Jesus's Hebrew name. I'm usually okay with anacrostic names and words, but I draw the line at using religiously significant names like Yeshua unless there's some kind of point you're trying to make. Does Fennah not know that Yeshua is a deeply religious name? Now, I brought this comment up because I saw 2 reviews saying very similar things about this name. I'm not knowledgeable enough on this topic. I don't practice any religion in particular, so this is where I'm asking and totally relying on you guys. Do you guys feel like this is appropriate? Is it not appropriate? Now, one thing I didn't bring up yet is, of course, the darker side to this book. I and many other readers felt a little off-put by the lack of, I guess, reaction or acknowledgement of the horrible dark things that are going on in this story, because I do understand that this is a darker dystopian alien kind of world, and these darker elements are, just how it is. But I feel like it would really help to see how these darker things negatively impact the other people living in the world, like how it has an impact on the youth and dollies themselves. Just to drive the point home that these things are bad regardless of the world that, you know, they take place in. Kind of like Hunger Games or Descendants? No. Detergent? No. Divergent? That sounds right. We'll go with that. They have a scene where a character named Mystique is doing a little dance and removing articles of clothing based upon whenever someone gives her an item of trade. And when all clothing is removed, she goes with the person who offers the highest value trade, which is a little confusing to me considering that some characters don't wear clothes at all. Some female characters literally look like dragons, and other woman characters look a little bit less animal and a little more womanly. So nothing is really consistent. Sometimes they wear clothes, sometimes they don't wear clothes. So I don't really understand what makes this sexy. There's a lot of little things like that that don't quite make sense. Something that really got on my nerves is Lucy's hypocrisy. Lucy sides with Locket the whole way through. Her perspective never wavers. This might change in later books, hopefully, please, because Lucy has only made it this far due to the kindness and care others have shown her. She would have been dead. Okay, hi, so I also forgot to mention that Lucy has a visual impairment, so Locket wouldn't like her anyways. Her life is saved countless times by other people around her, only to turn around and say it should be every creature for themselves, and they should have to work and fight for where they are, and no one should be given the right to survive. Even though she just got lucky, bro. She didn't have to fight her way to the top. It was everyone else's generosity and a little bit of her manipulation at times that got her there. Anyways, to me, I don't know if this is the case, but to me it seems like the author really favors Locket's point of view over Methuselah's in every aspect. Sometimes it feels like they're trying to make Methuselah a villain when she isn't at all, in my opinion. Like they try and paint her as some kind of dictator, but I don't see how that's the case. So I just wish the two sides of the political spectrum were a little bit more balanced. However, Locket did have a few good counter arguments to Methuselah, so it wasn't like that constantly, but you know, just a few little times kind of add up. But it kind of felt like it fell through with everyone siding with Locket and only like a group of 5 people siding with Methuselah in the end. It's a little bit of a mess narratively, and I found myself only really enjoying Lucy's point of view. Anyways, there are some really good points made by fans and reviews on both sides, people saying wonderfully positive things and some more negative things. Someone named Maya wrote a wonderful review that I used a lot for comparing and contrasting for this video. I'll have it linked down in the description. Check it out if you are interested, I guess. But the review brings up a lot of the hypocrisies Locket and both Methuselah have in the book. So, shall we wrap this up? Overall, I actually think that this is something really cool. And the fact that this creator was so passionate about a story he wanted to tell that he was able to make it happen. He created all this love and community around his very own story, and he was able to share it physically with other people, and I think that's awesome. This is so different from the other just gross random stuff I read. You can actually tell that this person is passionate about their characters and their story, and they put a lot of love into this. I will agree that some of this stuff is really off-putting, but I can totally see both sides of the spectrum. Some people may be bothered while others don't see an issue at all. And if you found this interesting at all and wanted to check it out despite its flaws, I think you should. It would be nice to support a smaller creator. Or if this book makes you extremely uncomfortable, I don't blame you. It's a little freaky. I'm excited to see the comments of this video and just hear and see everything you guys have to say. I know this video has been a lot of yapping. I apologize. Thank you for sticking with me. You thought you were gonna get away? Not yet. Not yet. I'm gonna have one last yap. Feel free to go. Spread your wings. Thank you for sticking along. Okay, wait. This is not a YouTuber apology. This is something for my soul and for my heart, okay? I'm not canceled. Don't plan to be. In my most popular video, I failed to explain and expand upon things on many different points, and I didn't get my true feelings across. Not that this is an excuse for my really bad commentary writing skills. I was just bad. But when I made this video, I had less than 1,000 subscribers. I was truly thinking only my friends and a few random people who follow me would see that video. That was not the case, and I didn't put the time or effort a video like that needed, despite everyone loving it. So thank you, but it's my personal least favorite video, and I've truly taken all the advice and criticism from that video, and I've applied it to everything I've made moving forward. The last thing I want to do is breed unnecessary hate. Now, the book in that video does not compare to this one, making that clear. This book was actually recommended to me under that video. Some commenter said I should check it out and see how it compares. With all that being said and done, I'm tired. But thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to see what you guys have to say about this book. And huge thank you for 50,000 subscribers. Stereotypical YouTuber of me. I apologize for that. But thank you guys for sticking around for my dumb little videos. Please let me know down below of things you want to see me cover next, whether it's game, movies, shows, books, whatever your little brain can think of, so I can steal it. But thank you guys. So, same time next week.